We're back with our 186th episode of Common Knowledge, the show where I take a look at 10 common Magic the Gathering cards and tell you if any of them are good in the Pauper format or not. We are getting so dangerously close to 200, and I don't know what I'm going to do for it. When I did episode 100, I reviewed 100 cards in one stream, or one episode. And that was a lot, and I am certainly not doing 200 cards. I will not do that to myself, and I won't do that to you. But I got to figure out something to do because that'll be a big milestone. Maybe that'll be when I'll do like my first big deck tech or something, and I can show off some of my decks, and that could be fun. Maybe we'll go with that. But for today, we still have a lot of cards to look at. So let's look at our first common Magic the Gathering card. It's Brazen Dwarf, 1 and a red for a 1/3 Dwarf Shaman. When you roll 1 or more dice, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. So it's a pinger, but for dice rolling, how much dice rolling is there at the common rarity? I can't imagine it's much, right? Let's roll. How do you put exact? Because I don't want to say dice because it could say roll a die, and I don't necessarily want to say a die. I mean, I guess you say a die, right? Roll a die. Because you're any card that's going to do this isn't going to do more than 1 die at a time. So we'll just say legal in the Pauper format. And roll a die and see how many you get. 21 cards. Let's say roll a die. And these are all legal, yeah. So even though this is an uncard, it's still legal. You can do that. But also you're gonna see there's problems here. This is not actually a card that rolls dice. Because it says control. A roll is right there. So that doesn't count either. So we have can you I know. I don't think you can do it that way. Oh, well, actually, you can. You can. Absolutely. Absolutely, you can. I can put this in quotes. And I think that works it. It's a little... Well, okay. that is a Scryfall trick for you. This one does say roll a die. When you roll a die, you can remove, but actually, let's go back to what we had before. Let's take these out, because I want to read some of these cards. Whenever you roll a die, and this can have you roll a 6-sided die. Ah, I see. When I said roll a die in quotes, it only takes that phrase, so it wouldn't take 6-sided at that point. So I guess you have to kind of have it like this and just pick them out like that. Anyway, so we got one card that can roll a die. This one can. This one cannot. This one does. No. Anything in old frame, certainly not. Enters the battlefield. Yep, there you go. No here. Roll a planar die. That doesn't. I mean, does dwarf? Whenever you roll 1 more dice, I suppose you could make the planar die work that way. That's fascinating. All right, so that'd be our 5th. These don't work. I'm gonna roll 6-sided die. Okay, there's 6. There's 7. No. There's 8. There's 9. Nope. There's 10. And so there's 10, because this only works when you roll dice, but it doesn't actually have you roll dice. So it's not a lot. That's not a lot of cards at all. And in terms of red ones, 1, 2. You get two red cards, so that's 8 cards because you can put 4 copies of each. This is not good. Like, not only is it not good generally, it's not good definitively, because we just don't have nearly enough cards to make something like this work. Yeah, this, I don't know. You can't. This isn't gonna fly, right? I suppose this has room to grow. As any dice card could. I mean, they could keep printing dice rolling cards if we get another D&D kind of set, or if we get more unsets that have Pauper or that have constructed legal cards in it. So it could get better. I'm gonna guess that it probably won't get a whole lot better though. We'll give this a. I mean, this is an okay stat line. Two mana for a 1/3 that blocks a decent amount of stuff, even if you're not doing the dice stuff. But there's a ton of cards that already do this with this stat line, and you just get more out of it. So, um, I, I'm gonna go for a 1.8 and acknowledge that if we get more dice rolly cards, maybe this could get better. But I don't think it's ever going to get good enough because it does say when you roll one or more dice, so it's not. You can't just find some card that says roll a ton of dice on it and then it deals a ton of pings. You still have to roll a bunch of individual ones. So, nah. 1.8. I think that's fair. Mayhem Patrol is 1 and a red for a 1/2 Devil Warrior with Menace. When this creature attacks, target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn and has Blitz for 1 and a red. Blitz says if you cast this spell for its Blitz cost, it gains haste, and when this creature dies, you draw a card and you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Blitz is cool. I think Blitz is a really cool mechanic and ability that we saw in the Streets of New Capenna cards. There's a handful that are pretty good. The Underdog, I remember being pretty standard playable at the time. Because I think you could replay it from the graveyard for its blitz cost. So it was kind of just a way to keep repeating, getting a creature out there and drawing a card when it dies. Like that's pretty neat. But this version, it's a 2 mana 1/2 menace, and if you blitz it, it has haste as well, but it's still just 1 damage. I guess it's technically 2 because when it attacks, it can give a creature +1/+0, even if that's itself. Okay, so you're getting it with 2 damage, and then you're potentially drawing a card, and that's that's not nothing. That is not nothing. You do lose the creature if you do that mode, though. If it's just out normally, sure, this could get you a couple buffs over the course of a game. 1/2 is an okay stat line. I mean, it's not great for 2 mana, but you have to imagine this is kind of functionally a grizzly bear with menace. So it is, I guess it is better than a grizzly bear almost all the time. We can give this a 2.2, I think, and then see what our next card is. Rock Soldiers, third red card in a row. Rock Soldiers is 3 and a red for a 4/3 artifact creature elemental soldier. When this creature enters, destroy up to 1 target non-creature artifact. That's when you're spending 4 mana. I guess it is a 4/3, but when you're spending 4 mana, I should just say any artifact. Give me the Shatter. Come on. I mean, this isn't going to stop Affinity, right? You can. There's plenty of non-creature artifacts that you can blow up. You can blow up some lands, and you can blow up some, Eager Wellsprings. I guess they want the Eager Wellspring to be destroyed, wouldn't they? But you have plenty of options available to you that aren't just the creature ones are the best ones though. Mirror Enforcer, Refurbished Familiar, Utrom Monitor. There's all sorts of cards that are artifacts that are creatures that you are probably the bigger threats that you really need to get rid of at that point. But this could stop a Neil Spellbomb, I guess. Well, they'd crack it in response probably, but it forces it out of them. A Relic of Progenitus. There's stuff that this hits, but a vanilla 4/3 for 4 mana that potentially blows up a thing, but a pretty specific thing. I'm not gonna celebrate over that much. I think we can go for I'll give it a 2.1. I think it's pretty expensive for what it is. Cannibalize is 1 and a black for a sorcery. Choose 2 target creatures controlled by the same player. Exile one of those creatures and put 2 +1/+1 counters on the other. What an odd card. Odd in so many ways. Odd in the art. This just has a blank white background. That's kind of nuts. I mean, it's from Stronghold. I guess you could say that's snow in the background, but that's weird. The flavor text is weird. Just a 1-word mine, which I like flavor wise. It works, but the text, it's just odd to have it so short that way. It does look a whole heck of a lot better in the old border. I mean, I guess that makes sense. This is for MTGO play with the Tempest remastered, and they upshifted it to uncommon then. But for the Stronghold version, I don't know, exiling one of for 2 mana, you have to exile one of your creatures and then put a couple 1/1 counters. I don't know if that's worth it so much for you. Maybe it's worth it for to do it at an opponent. It does say 2 target creatures controlled by the same player, so that could be your opponent. Maybe you get rid of their and it also said choose. Well, it says choose 2 targets, so I guess it is targeting. Um, right? You choose the 2 targets during an announcement. You choose which gets the counters and which gets exile on resolution. Okay, so I mean, it is still targeting. So you can't just hit their Tolarian Terror that way. But if the idea was, oh, I can get rid of their Tolarian Terror, exile their Tolarian Terror, and then put 2 counters on their Delver of Secrets or something, that's still not a very good trade. You don't want to do that. It's a funky little card, and I like it, but not for the Pauper format. This feels like something I might want to like play in Commander, and it's not even that good in Commander because if it sacrificed the creature, and then you put 2+1/+1 counters on the other creature, then we might be talking a little bit. But when you exile the creature, you're kind of just done. I guess this could work in like a Katramos deck, maybe put a couple counters on Katramos if he's a creature at that point, but then also you exile something else which helps out Katramos too. But from the Pauper format, this seems really bad. I mean, I suppose I don't know. Is there like a Gardens kind of deck where you can exile the token, the 0/1 plant token, and then put a couple counters on another creature? I still don't want to pay 2 mana for that at sorcery speed. So no, I'm gonna say no. I mean, if this was instant speed, maybe if it was at instant speed, so you knew you were going to lose the creature anyway. Maybe you block one of your opponent's creatures, or they try to lightning bolt it or something, and you go, oh yeah, okay. Well, in response, I'll just get rid of that creature and put a couple counters on another guy. That could be kind of cool too. But this card can't do that either. So we'll just have to live with a I think like a 1.6. This seems really really bad, but Robert Bliss does some creepy art on some of these cards, and this one is also significantly creepy. Let's get back to where we can repeat our search and get to Ice Flan. Ice Flan is 4 and double blue for a 5/4 elemental ooze. When this creature enters, tap target artifact or creature an opponent controls, put a stun counter on it, and an island cycles for 2. We've had this discussion. It's really hard to use the cyclers that cost 2 mana, the land cyclers here that cost 2 mana, when you just have the Lord of the Rings cards that can do it for 1 mana. Now, blue is a little bit different in that the Lord of the Rings card um, that Island Cycles is a sorcery. It's the Lorien Revealed, and all the other ones are creatures in the Lord of the Rings one. So a blue cycler for a creature is a little bit unique for the Pauper format if you were considering something like that. If you needed to get a big blue creature on the board late in the game, I guess this works for you. I think you'd still probably just rather draw the 3 cards that Lorien Revealed gives you and have a better time with that. But once it gets on the board, you feel okay about it. You tap something down, you put a stun counter on it. Maybe it's the only creature they've got. Now you've got a big 5/4 that's able to swing in the next turn and not be blocked, or at least make a lot more difficult blocks for the opponent at that point. This I played Final Fantasy Limited. I don't. I played more of like a. Oh, what was my deck? I had like 3 different copies of Vincent Valentine, the black legend that could flip. So I know I was definitely in black. I can't remember what my second color was. Maybe green, so I could ramp. I can't remember. But I don't remember anyone playing an Ice Flan against me, and I don't remember playing one myself. And I just haven't played with the card. But it seems okay. 6 mana, 5/4. That's not amazing, but with the enters trigger and the cycling, it works for in a couple different situations. I don't hate it, but Lorien Revealed exists, and that is kind of the end of the argument. I guess we got to give this something like a 2.6. No, it can go higher. It can go higher, even though you're always going to play the Lorien over this. Um, let's go for like a 2.9. If Lorien didn't exist, this would be a really good card. but it does, so you can't give it nearly as good as you were probably planning on getting it. Anyway, Glacial Stalker is 5 and a blue for a 4/5 elemental with morph for 4 and a blue, so you can cast it face down as a 2/2 creature for 3 mana, and then flip it when you pay 4 and a blue to make it its 5/4 incarnation. I I generally don't like morph cards. I especially don't like morph cards that don't do something when they morph. Because this just seems like bad value. Do I want to pay 6 mana for this creature, or do I want to pay essentially 8 mana? 3 to get it on the board and 5 to get it to turn into the 4 or 5 later. That's a lot of mana for that. Now, this is in installments, and you can argue this is a modal spell. Hey, it's a 3 mana 2/2, or it's a 6 mana 4/5, and even it kind of works on curve a little bit. Not exactly, but it will continue to work on curve, I suppose, as you go from 3 mana playing the 2/2, 4 mana you do something, 5 mana now you can flip it. I guess, but that's a lot of resources, a lot of mana being put into a single card, and I don't like it. I don't like putting that much mana into this card or any of these morph creatures. I think most of them are just really, really weak. And so I don't particularly like them. I certainly don't play them, and I've never seen anybody play or talk about Glacial Stalker before. And I probably won't again unless it randomly shows up again. But I think score-wise, we can go for a 1.4, I guess. That's really, really quite bad. What is next on the docket? Oh, now you're hurting me. Now you're hurting me with the cycling cards. Twisted Abomination, originally from Onslaught, maybe Legions. Ooh. Oh, it's the other one. It's Scourge. Damn. Anyway, close though. Twisted Abomination is 5 and a black for a 5/3 zombie mutant. You can pay a black to regenerate this creature, and it has swamp cycling for 2. I like Twisted Abomination, and maybe it's just because I had a copy as a kid, and I think I still have that copy somewhere. And it feels like it does a lot. Zombies are generally 2/2 creatures, so to be able to throw one out there that's comparatively big, 5/3, even though you're spending way too much mana on it, 6 mana to get a 5/3 is not great, not great. But couple things here. Yes, you can still swamp cycle it. Is it as good as Troll of Khazad-dûm? Absolutely not. Troll of Khazad-dûm dog walks this thing, but it still can swamp cycle. And then when it's on the board, regenerating this for only a single mana is really great. Like, this thing can just keep on attacking, and as long as you got the mana to regenerate it, you're probably going to force the opponent into some really bad blocks. This thing can also block really nicely if you want to hold it back and then block and regenerate it to keep getting to just keep being like an unstoppable wall at that point. This thing is really hard to kill once it is on the board, but it does cost 6 mana to get it on the board in the first place, and that is a bit of a non-starter, especially when there's no other way of reducing that cost. And the swamp cycling is fine, but again, Troll of Khazad-dûm exists, and we got to deal with it. So as much as I like this card, I love this art. I love his big twin blades. I think this is just a rad card. Certainly like an old favorite of mine. Man, I got a time shifted version. That's awesome. Yeah, I truly do love Twisted Abomination, but I can't in good conscience give it a very good score for Pauper. I think we can go for something like a I mean, forget about comparing it to Troll of Khazad-dûm. How does it compare to Ice Flan? Is probably a better question. And you know what? I think I do like this better than Ice Flan. I'm going to give this a 3. And that sounds really high. That sounds like I'm being biased. But again, imagine a world where Troll of Khazad-dûm doesn't exist. And I think this goes way higher. And this probably does even see some play in a couple formats. or a couple decks. Maybe Dredge plays this where and just replaces the Troll of Khazad-dûm with this. It's possible, not likely, but it's possible. I think this would be a really good card, and I think in a vacuum, this is still a pretty darn good card. So I think a 3 is warranted. But I will admit, I do love this card dearly. Wait, did it have a white border version? Was I making that up? Yeah, I guess I'm making that up. Man, if it had a white border version, it would go in the white border cube instantly, but I guess not. Bog Raiders is 2 and a black for a 2/2 zombie with Swamp Walk. See, zombies generally are 2/2s. Originally from Portal. Oh, I do remember that Portal version. And then it got its Urza Saga art, which has been the art ever since. Anyway, 3 mana for a 2/2 zombie is a Scathe Zombie. That's we already have that card. Scathe Zombies. Classic Magic the Gathering card. I think this 10th edition art is really cool, and this which started in 7th edition. But these guys, look at these dorks. I love these dorks. Oh yeah, I also remember this. Was this 5th edition? Yeah, 5th edition art too. Yeah, man. For a normal garbage card, this is pretty cool sometimes. Anyway, 3 mana for a 2/2 on the ground is pretty bad. Not even blue does that. Windrake is way better than Scathe Zombies. But this isn't Scathe Zombies. This is Scathe Zombies with Swamp Walk, and that's most of the time just as bad. It's a little better. It is a little better, but no. Most of the walk abilities, as we've mentioned, I'm going to turn this light on, get a little bit more light on my face. There you go. Most of these land walk abilities just aren't all that usable in Pauper. You can't guarantee what your opponent's playing. So are you going to put this in the sideboard? I don't know if this is a good enough card. Well, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. I know this is not a good enough card to play in your sideboard. Just against black decks. This is a pretty crap card, but it is better than Scathe Zombies. You can't say that it's not. So I guess we'll go for a 1.2. It's not actively terrible, but it's pretty bad. Tristani's Judgment is 5 and a white for an instant. Exile target creature, then populate. Populate, if you can't remember. Says create a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. Populate's a pretty cool ability. Is it a cool enough ability that you're exiling a creature and doing that at instant speed, but you're doing all that and you want to spend 6 mana for that ability? I don't think so. I mean, we've mentioned this on the show before, but you take a card like Lightning Helix that says, here's 2 effects, doing 3 damage and gaining 3 life. You don't always want to do those 2 things at the same time, but it's fine that it does happen at the same time. You're never gonna turn down some life gain. There's never a time where life gain is hurting you. I take that back. There probably is some kind of inversion. Anytime you gain life, you actually lose life. Probably not in the Pauper format, but also Lightning Helix isn't in the Pauper format. But the point is, when you play something like Lightning Helix, you always have a target for it because it can always go face, and you're always getting the full benefit in that you are wanting to deal 3 damage and gaining 3 life. Great, fantastic magic card. That's why we love it. These are 2 effects that are slapped on the same card, but these 2 effects have nothing to do with each other and are not always useful together. And in fact, most of the time probably are not useful together. Exiling a target creature is great. Sometimes the opponent doesn't have creatures, but creature removal is still fine. I don't mind the exile target creature part. Populating is a much more narrow kind of effect. You have to have not just a token, you have to have a creature token on the board. And also, if you're spending 6 mana for this, I'd want a pretty good token. I don't just want the Colony Garden plant. I want, the 8/8 octopus token that you get from the Murders of Karlov Manor one. Actually, is it Murders? I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But there was one, maybe it's Bloomburrow, but it makes you an 8/8 octopus, but you also have to give an opponent an 8/8 octopus, or you can gift an octopus, something like that, and then you make a token of make a copy token of what they got. Anyway, if I'm populating, I want to populate something good. And I can't think of a ton of amazing creature tokens that get made in the Pauper format. And if that's the case, then you're just spending 6 mana on an exile spell, and that's terrible. You should never do that. So I don't like this card. I'm gonna give it a low score. I'm gonna give it a 1.3. I really hate it. Dredging Claws, 2 mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and menace. Whenever a creature enters from your graveyard, you may attach this equipment to it. It equips for 1 and a black. That seems fine. It's not an amazing equipment. Paying 3 and a black to get this on the board and onto a creature is a lot of mana for only +1/+0 and menace. But the idea that if you reanimate something and it comes back and now it automatically gets a +1/+0 and menace, that feels a little bit better. There are decks that could take advantage of this. Dredge is out there. You could Troll of Khazad-dûm turn 1. Well, I guess you probably wouldn't do it turn 1 and turn 2 with Exhume, because you'd want to have this out first. You'd probably still rather have the Troll, because the Troll also has Super Menace on it, so that's a bad example. But there's reasons that you might be able to play a card like this, but I don't think any of them are particularly good reasons to the point that makes me go, "Ooh, yeah, this is a card that should go in your deck." It is kind of mostly just wasting a slot, and I think most of the time, I mean, even if you build your deck perfectly to be a very reanimator heavy strategy, I just don't think you have enough value out of this, or enough of those kinds of cards that you're getting what you want out of this. Yeah. I'm not a big fan. I will go for I mean, to that point, I think it's almost a bit of a trap, to the point that I want to give it a really low score and go for something like a 1.8. Yeah. It's just not impactful enough in kind of any situation. Even at its best, I don't think it's very impactful. We'll do a bonus card to end the day, a Dissension card. Okay. And it looks funky. Whiptail Moloch is 4 and a red for a 6/3 lizard. When this creature enters, it deals 3 damage to target creature you control. Well, that's a little rough. I mean, so you have to have another creature out, or it's going to deal 3 damage to itself and die, and you don't want that. But I also don't really want to do 3 damage to my own guy. I don't particularly love 6/3 of stats for 5 mana anyway, so to get that with a big downside feels pretty bad. What if I just spent an extra mana and I got Boarding Party instead, which is a 6/3 with haste now, and it cascades, so I'm getting, multiple spells out of that. Boarding Party is a pretty good card. Whiptail Moloch is not. Whiptail Moloch is a pretty bad card. I think we can pretty safely give this a 1.2, maybe a 1.1. I'll go down to 1.1. This is one of the worst Magic cards I've seen. Like, it's not actively killing you, but the idea that you could spend 5 mana on a creature that enters the battlefield only to kill itself. Imagine if you play this card, and as you're casting this card, your opponent like casts down the only other creature you have on the board. And so this guy has to come down and now target itself. It's the only viable target. And then it dies. That's really sad. That would be really, really sad. You don't want that. So yeah, I think 1.1 is appropriate. Let's get out of here on that one. Thanks for joining me. See you on the next one.